Hey everyone, this podcast is part of Story Mode, the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. You can support us and gain access to other great exclusive podcasts at patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
Hey everybody.
Hey everyone.
My name is David Bell.
I'm Tom Ryman.
And we just watched Skyscraper. That's what it's called, right?
You said it like Patrick Stewart. Skyscraper.
It kind of sounds like a transformer if you say it the right way.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Pearl is the tallest, most advanced building in the world.
You've built a vertical city, but you've brought with it every single safety and security challenge that I could think of.
We thought this floor was empty.
So did I.
Not only have you brought them all indoors, but you've trapped them 240 floors in the air. No one really knows what would happen if things go wrong. But I'm just a glorified security guard, so what the hell do I know anyway?
So this was a film.
Yeah, this was all right.
Yeah.
I enjoyed a lot of this.
Yeah, it was fine.
I saw one very specific problem, which is why I couldn't fully enjoy it.
Yeah.
And it's weird to say this because I don't.
No, I'm excited to hear what you're hung up on this because sometimes it's why do they have dogs on Mars?
Right.
Like sometimes you get hung up on.
No. This is simpler.
Incredibly
than that.
Specific things.
This is simpler than that.
Okay.
I think this needed to be R-rated.
Probably.
Yeah. Like the fact that the action needed to be bloodier and grosser.
Yeah, well,
it was a ridiculous film.
Yeah,
but the PG-13, like it didn't have an edge to it, and I think it needed
except for when the bad guy said he was going to throw the little girl off the fucking roof.
Yeah, that's how they used their one.
That's how they used their F-bomb. Yeah, it was a very 90s action movie, and in the 90s is when we started really sanitizing action movies.
Yeah, it was very 90s. I know there's been a lot of comparisons to Die Hard, but this isn't like Die Hard. It's like Die Hard without the charisma and a different plot. Like the only similarity is that it takes place in a skyscraper and he gets kind of beat up during it.
Like I saw something on Twitter the other day where it was the director Rawson Marshall Thurber had been quoted as saying, "Yeah, I know it's Die Hard in a building," and I was like, "Okay, that's redundant."
Yeah,
that's like
First
saying
of all, Die Hard is it's like Jurassic Park on an island.
Yeah, it's like saying Santa with a beard.
Yeah,
it's like it's a building.
Yeah,
that's the movie.
But also it's not. It wasn't Die Hard.
No, not at all. It was more like there was a lot of similarities.
I was reminded more like Poseidon or Towering Inferno of like a disaster escape. Like he doesn't beat up that many people.
He doesn't use a gun.
Yeah, which was kind of cool.
It was neat. Because
he says he's not going to use
right. Like halfway through the movie, I was like, okay, like if Hollywood is really serious about like
anti-gun violence,
they should really start not having their heroes use guns.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is an interesting thing that you have this guy who's, like, he does a couple of superhuman rock stuff.
Yeah.
But mostly it is very Die Hard in that he's just getting the shit kicked out of him for the whole movie.
Yeah. Although he doesn't act like it. Like, he definitely does, but he doesn't. Like, there's a part where he helps form a bridge or keep a bridge.
He flexes a bridge together.
Yeah, and his wife is like climbing across and he's like, I don't know how long I can keep this together.
Right, well that was...
And then she makes it and then he's just like, whew, okay, let's go. And it's like, you don't need to sit for a second.
Yeah, you don't...
You were pushed to your physical limits.
Yeah. He's hanging outside the building like 3 different times.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. I mean, the first scene is The Rock showing The Rock in a hostage situation getting an explosion in his face.
A man with a bomb vest feet away. Like it's in the kitchen of a small house. They're all in the kitchen.
Yeah. And The Rock gets some scrapes and loses his leg. That's how he loses his leg.
Why does he lose his leg?
I don't know. Why not lose like his chest?
Of his right. Of the parts of his body that leg was probably the furthest from the explosion.
And right before the explosion, he was like, "No!" And you see him like kick
his leg.
His leg, like not even.
He tries
like
to.
His leg just comes into the shot, like, cartoony fashion, like to shield himself.
He tries to kick the detonator out of the guy's hand.
Yeah. But,
so like his friend, who is directly next to him when the bomb goes off, we see later has like a little bit of burn scar on the lower part of his neck.
I wouldn't have been surprised if they're like watching a news thing and then they just show the guy with the bomb and he's just in prison with like a couple of scars.
Yeah, like he's like missing an ear.
Yeah, like the bomb.
It's like he had a bomb strapped to his chest.
But right away they just established like, okay, so the Rock is indestructible. Like, he takes an explosion.
His friend more so.
Yeah. Oh yeah, his friend's totally
his
fine.
His friend is fine.
And they show this
He says,
moment.
I got a medical discharge. For fucking why?
Yeah.
You look fine.
Yeah.
You're not even missing a finger.
Yeah, he's not missing like
unless like it blew all of his toes off.
Right.
So like now he just can't stay balanced. It just incinerated all of his toes.
Oh man. So yeah, his friend is like doubting the Rock's actions. When he like, because he has the gun.
Because his friend wants to shoot him in the head.
Yeah, and his friend's like, I got a shot, and he's like, no. And then they cut to the Rock later, and his friend's setting up on the job, and I instantly turned to you, Tom, and went, he's the bad guy.
He's the bad guy.
Which I was actually wrong. Like he is a bad guy. But I figured they were setting up this motivation of like, why didn't you just let? I had the shot, man. You shouldn't have just let. Like that sort of grudge that was gonna. Like I thought he was gonna be a third act bad guy. Like he slowly turns the gun to the Rock, and he's like, why?
Right.
Instead, they do that like in the first 20 minutes, which that was the first thing where I was like, oh, thank you, movie. We all knew. Like, everybody knew. So just get it over
I love,
with.
like, his friend sets him up with this job to be the security consultant for the Pearl, which the first time they say the name, I thought they said that was called the Pole, and I was very excited.
That would have been a great name for a skyscraper.
The Pole.
Let's just cut to the chase.
Yeah.
It's in where? Hong Kong?
It's in Hong Kong, yeah. It was built by Mr. Lau from The Dark Knight.
Right.
Who just has a real problem with being on top of large things that are on fire.
Yeah. I mean, you mean like he has trouble, it keeps happening to him.
It continues happening.
We all sort of have a problem with that.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's like an affliction for him. It follows him.
It does.
So yeah, his friend gets him this job, but it's really just so he can organize having the Rock's, like, it's all controlled from this iPad, basically a tablet. I forgot the word for it.
That has face recognition that controls the.
Yeah.
Here's the first question, then.
Yeah.
Why did he need the Rock specifically?
He was cheapest.
Okay.
And he knew him, so it was like, I don't know. It's like he knew a guy, and he was. I know I can get this guy to this position, so where somebody can steal his bag, which is supposed to have the tablet in it, and then
it didn't need.
I don't know. There's no
Rock.
They don't need the Rock.
It was the plan is, if it goes well, is his family leaves to go see the pandas, which I don't think the bad guys had any control over. The family was like, we're going to go on a day trip while the Rock.
Well, and then the buddy shows up with like, hey, I got you the nighttime feeding passes. Like, it's clear he was trying to keep them out. Like,
so he
all
does
day.
get them out. All right, because the bad guys do get him out of the house.
Yeah,
and then he takes the Rock on a ferry trip. Don't know where they're going.
They're going to the control.
Oh, right, they're
center.
going. Okay, so he goes. He meets the guy, and
it would have been fun if they were just going on a boat ride.
Yeah, and then when they're on the boat, the guy. He gets mugged. It's a staged mugging.
When he gets off the
And
boat,
the idea is they're going to take the tablet and run.
Mm-hmm.
They still need his face.
Apparently not.
Okay, so they don't need his face
because they break into the bad guys break into the control building, which is a mile away from the main building for some reason.
Right.
I guess in case there's an emergency.
Yeah,
but like. Then they get this German hacker who totally seems like he's going to be a character,
They just off him.
And then he cracks the tablet and gives them control. And then the super cool lady assassin just immediately shoots him in the face.
Yeah. Well, he says the hacker is like, no one. What does he say? He says
I have some gobbledygook. He's like, I encrypted it to my own the body rhythm, so I am the only person in the world that can open this tablet. It's pretty cool, huh? Pretty smart. And then she just shoots him right in the face.
Right. He's just like, you can't stop. Like, it's the idea of like, there's no way to stop this unless it's me. So she shoots him. So it's like, no one can stop. But at the end, that's completely
Nev Campbell just picks it up and uses it to save the building.
I mean, I think we're going to pick apart a lot of this stuff for the movie.
Well, the main problem...
I don't think the movie cares.
No, the movie doesn't care. The main problem is... The fundamental problem with the danger in the film is that they spend a lot of time telling us that the fire control system uses some kind of gas...
Right.
Ventilation locks to deprive it of oxygen.
Right.
As well as sprinklers. So the bad guys, their plan is to start a fire and burn the building down to make Mr. Lau leave because he has this thumb drive full of information that they want.
Yeah.
But so they start a fire and the fire control systems kick in. But the fire doesn't go out.
Yeah,
the fire doesn't go out for no reason.
Yeah, the fire keeps going, and they keep saying, like, they keep showing Mr. Lau on his penthouse, and people are like, should we leave? And he's like, no, the building will take care of the fire. And, like, then you show the police, and they're like, yeah, the building will take care of the fire. It's not doing that.
That floor just continues to burn until they then turn off the fire suppression.
It seemed like the building could contain the fire, and they were like waiting for it to burn out or something.
No, because later on, like
you're right. Like
in the first scene when the Rock is going through their security thing, he's like, it turns on. It uses a state of the art coolant dispersal that puts out the fire in like seconds, and we see that shit come out at the end of the movie that puts the entire fire out. But it just never comes out on that one floor.
They put on special chemicals, which they don't explain, I don't think, that says like flammable when wet, or it's like says like flammable add water, and so the sprinklers cause the fire.
Yeah,
which is hilarious because I don't think anything does that.
I know there's fires that, you know, like water won't put napalm out.
Yeah, I mean,
but like
maybe there's
there
something
might be,
out there.
but like still,
but maybe that's what was going on.
That wouldn't stop the coolant, though.
Yeah, but again,
it's the only time we see they don't mention sprinklers when he's going over. He says we have this thing that shoots out coolant gas.
Yeah,
no sprinklers.
And here's my general problem with the movie and why I said R-rated, but it doesn't have to be R-rated necessarily. It could also have been written by like someone like Shane Black or something. The movie needs to be quirkier to be this dumb.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Is that it needs to either have like a lot of gore that's like over the top, or like funny characters, or like a zany villain. Yeah. But it's just not. It's so normal, but it's so dumb.
Right. It's just a very forgettable movie.
Yeah.
It's going to be one of the oceans of movies action movies that came out in the 90s that you just never think about ever again.
There's just nothing unique about it.
Yeah. Like any Wesley Snipes movie from the 90s,
yeah.
It's going to be like any...
Which I have nostalgia
all the
for.
Arnold
I really
movies
like Murder
in
at
the
1600.
I meant more like Drop Zone.
Drop Zone.
And like Terminal Velocity.
Yeah, Murder at 1600 is more like a thriller.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, I'm going to watch that immediately.
You're going to watch Murder at 1600?
Yeah. God, I love that movie.
Dennis Miller is his partner?
Yeah. Who thought Dennis Miller should be in movies?
We got to solve this crime, this crime, babe.
Why did they do that?
Somebody got murdered at 1600.
But yeah, all right. It's pretty forgettable. I enjoyed a lot of it.
I enjoyed myself. It was just I just say I kept somebody asked me the other day, it might have been Ganser, like what's going to be the movie that's going to be like the movie that we remember The Rock for,
he's been
Arnold's got like
that.
Terminator and Bruce Willis has Die Hard, like what's going to be The Rock's, and so far, I mean, it's not this one.
No, and I don't know if there will be something, because Like Bruce Willis had Die Hard,
and then he had
Schwarzenegger had Terminator. They all had like career beginning things. Yeah. The Rock just sort of decided to be a superstar.
Yeah,
and we all let him. And,
we did,
and that's fine. But he's like every movie he does feels like later career movies. Every movie he does is like Eraser.
This is very much like Eraser.
Yeah. I mean, Jumanji's a good movie.
Yeah, Jumanji's a good movie.
But it's not iconic. It's not like the iconic Rock film, you know? He has just sort of, it's weird. It's weird like that because like
yeah, this is it's very much
be known as a personality, but not
right. Like it's not. He's not going to have like the one. This is the movie you got to watch.
Right.
It's sort of like
that might be a bigger problem with movies.
I think so.
I think modern actors, I'm thinking of them like they don't have iconic films as much. What's the last like spoofed movie? What's the last movie that was like Titanic, where like everybody was doing
just
I'm the king
stuck
of the
in
world.
the zeitgeist for so long.
Like the Avengers doesn't have the I'm the king of the world moment.
Yeah, I mean,
this is almost a tangent, but like, you know what I mean? Like,
I mean, the people disappearing into dust has become a bit of a meme. But
you're right. Yeah,
but I mean,
I don't feel so good.
Yeah,
I bet that. Yeah, okay, that's good.
But yeah, we don't have like a King of the World or like a I'll Be Back or
it feels like movies
something that really just grabs.
Movies blend together like this feels like a movie that
I Wish I Could Quit You.
Yeah.
Life's Like a Box of Chocolates.
Yeah.
Like there's it's tough. I think it's because there's so many movies now.
Yeah.
Movies happen so quickly.
And there's so many movies like this, which they're just sort of...
This feels like
they're fun, but
it feels like 90s. Sort of forget them. It feels like all the movies that like Stallone and Bruce Willis did in the 90s.
Yeah.
Where it's like, well, we're not going to... I take that back. Stallone has Cliffhanger and Demolition Man.
Right.
But like, he also has Daylight.
Yeah.
And Copland.
Yeah. Yeah, again, this feels like later career. This feels like the end of someone's career.
Right. It's I wonder because this is like I keep coming back to this is a very 90s movie and not like an 80s movie. I feel like if it was an 80s action movie, we would have enjoyed it more.
Yeah. Well, it took no risks. And that's kind of why The Rock probably doesn't have that movie. Is because he never takes risks in terms of the movies he's doing, right? I mean, okay, I will say he takes risks every now and then, but it's like Southland Tales. Which I enjoy that movie for being so batshit, or like Pain and Gain, which is a movie I don't like, but like The Rock is willing to play ball. He's willing to do something weird. When it's presented to him. But like,
I don't think he's getting those offers.
Yeah,
I think he's getting stuff like this.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, like, Rampage could have been that.
Yeah, it could have been that. But that was more of a giant. He was almost secondary,
right?
And then like, I don't know. Like, he needs to find something that's unique to him. Like the Terminator is unique because it's Schwarzenegger playing a fucking robot from the future. That's an insane role. Die Hard is Die Hard because of like John McClane was something we hadn't seen before, you know?
Yeah.
And this is just one more muscly action guy. You know what? Like, it's that thing they said they do that. They love to do that thing in action movies now where they at least do like a shot and you see them in like a military gear. So it's like the everyman, but there's always that shot of like, well, he was also in the army. Like, and so they always justify action movies that way, and this felt like the same way.
Yeah, where he was like, do that.
Like, he could have
just been some swole dude.
Yeah.
Like, I'd have been fine with that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's like, you know, they stopped bothering to explain why Arnold is Austrian in movies.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, yeah, I'm Detective John Kimball. Okay.
He can just be swole. Like,
I'm Howard the paper company executive or whatever he is in Jingle All the Way. His name is like Howard Jones or some shit.
like this could have gone very wrong, which is why it's a risk. But like if in this one The Rock's character had like severe post-traumatic stress, because of what happened.
He has a little bit,
but like,
which is why he won't use guns. Which again, that's right.
At
I started
no point does he like freak out.
No,
like
that's right.
He's always on top of the situation.
I wanted to complete this thought. I was starting to say this earlier, and I just lost it. He doesn't ever use a gun in the movie, which is cool.
Yeah,
but everyone else around him does.
Yeah.
So it kind of winds up not mattering.
Well, it's also
like all the other good guys fucking shoot. Like Lau is smoking people.
You're right. And so like there's never a moment of like, oh God, how is he going to get out of this? He's not using a gun, but they have a bunch of guns. It's just someone else shoots the bad guy, or also he doesn't use a gun.
He has
but
he sword.
Does use a grenade, and yes, a sword. I forgot he uses
the bad guy is throwing the grenade.
Right, but he kicks the bad guy with the grenade off.
That was great.
That was great, but again, it should have been better. Same with the sword. He shows up with a sword, and that didn't like wow me as much as it should have. Like The Rock with a sword.
Well, they probably had to cut
exactly
stuff.
He should have been cutting people's heads off.
They could barely show any blood on that sword.
Yeah. Like, he should have been chopping people apart in front of his daughter.
Sure.
In that the grenade, like... Also, when the weird sleazy business guy, they knock him off. There's two falling deaths.
Noah Taylor?
Yeah.
Wolodarski from Life Aquatic.
Right, yes. Like, we don't even see a shot of him falling into the flames. Like
no, he just shoulder blocks him. Yeah.
Like, they don't show any of that because, again, it's PG-13, but, like, I think we needed that. Like, I think I needed a shot of him, like, exploding on the ground in a over-the-top, insane way.
You know, when they kept talking about how this building is, like, 1.5 miles tall or whatever, it's, like, over 200 stories, I was like, well, we got to see, someone's going to Hans Gruber off that thing.
Yeah. No one did.
It could have been... What they should have done when the main bad guy gets kicked through the hole and the grenade falls out after him and he gets blown up as he's falling to his death. They should have had him fall and almost hit the ground and then the grenade goes off.
Yeah. And
Great.
Then like from the beginning when they set the mid on fire and they blow up the helicopter, I was like, of course you blow up the helicopter. No one's leaving here on a helicopter. They're going to fucking base jump off this skyscraper at the end. Like, it's an action movie.
Oh yeah, when the bad guys
try
to
the good guys have a helicopter.
Mr. Lau has a secret helicopter. He's going to try to escape, and then the bad guys show up, and the helicopter gets exploded.
Yeah, and that was a great like raising the stakes because it's like, okay, there is officially no way off, and like of course you're not going to take a helicopter off. And then when they're like they have base jumping equipment, and like they point it out. And so I was like, yeah, of course they do. The Rock's going to fucking jump off this motherfucker with his daughter strapped to him. Mm-hmm. Mr. Lau's going to die somehow because it's just going to be him and his daughter or something similar. Maybe he'll jump off. And they didn't do that.
Like,
a helicopter
fight with a guy,
comes and picks them up at
he has
the
to
end.
he has to jump and he has to dive out and grab one of the bad guys on their parachute and have a fight on the parachute. That would have been dope.
Yeah. Well, you have a perfectly good skyscraper movie.
Yeah, we don't
like the Rampage knew what to do with a skyscraper.
It sure did.
Yeah, like you're making a big dumb movie. You might as well make the action big and dumb too.
I think that's why I liked Rampage so much.
Yeah, because Rampage is there's a million plot holes in Rampage, but it doesn't matter because it's fucking weird.
Yeah, and all the action was like crazy, and it was like fucking violent, even though it's PG-13. I was like shocked at how violent it was. He's doing bits with a giant monkey.
Yeah, the giant monkey pretends to be dead. It's just like, what the fuck movie? Like, it made such weird decisions that it stood out.
Yeah.
Because it fucking, like, that's what this movie needed. It just needed a something to give it an edge.
Yeah, and it just... It
wasn't even shot in a very interesting way. Like, when he's climbing the crane, they oddly shot him from, like, the bottom up a lot. And, like, every now and then they show a POV of him looking down. Mm-hmm. But it was like, he's climbing a crane. Make this feel
They did a couple of things. When he has to climb hand over hand, and they did a shot above him through the grate, I was like, well, that's what you do.
Yeah.
Like, let us see how high he is.
Yeah.
Because then I'm legitimately like, when he goes up and then slips, I was like, oh, shit. Because we're looking down at him, and you can see the ground below him.
That would have...
There was a cool wonder when he's trying to get out of his friend's apartment after his friend dies.
Oh yeah.
And he goes out of the stairwell and he sees a bag. He's like, shit! And he turns around and they shoot at him. He comes back inside, shuts the door, throws a bookcase in front of it while the squibs are going off. Yeah, they're going through. And that was a continuous take.
That was a good sequence.
Yeah.
Also, him fighting his friend was a pretty good sequence.
Yeah, that fight. See, when he had his fight with his friend, like, that put me... That raised my expectations for the film. I was like, "Oh shit! Like, this is an intense fight."
Yeah,
but that's the only time anything like that happens.
Yeah, there was something missing from like when he climbs and he takes that rope around to the turbines, and there was a cool device there where he keeps attaching the rope some more, and then the rope, when it all falls apart, he accidentally like swings all the way around the building.
Yeah.
But they do this like close up shot of him spinning, and then he's just hanging there, and it was like you didn't really show the thing happen. It felt like, and I know why, obviously, they didn't have this, but they needed more of a Mission Impossible scenario where they actually got stuntmen to do some of this shit. Because it felt at no point a stuntman was performing a stunt in this movie.
At least pay up for the effect to show us a shot of this man swinging all the way, like, upside down now because he's fallen, swinging all the way back around to the other side of the building and smacking into it.
But I do feel like, because
like, even the people on the ground, when we're seeing the people on the ground, there's people on the ground reacting the entire movie, and it's great.
Yeah.
They keep cutting to their reactions, but they're just watching like a big jumbotron, so that's zoomed in on the rock. So even then, it's like, we never really get they keep showing us like establishing shots of the building to see how high it is, and they keep telling us how high up he is, but we never really feel it.
No, we never feel it.
A lot of the parts.
Which is why I think a more practical, or like if this took place during the day, that would help to just see more. Like, I felt a lot of time when he was looking down, I would just see lights. Yeah. And it was sort of like, I can't really tell.
I'm not getting anything from that. Yeah.
Yeah. But like, This felt like it didn't know if it was a disaster movie or a stunt movie, because it ultimately wasn't a stunt movie. There's something, I mean, I still haven't seen the, what is it, Kingsman sequel?
Yeah.
And the reason why is the trailer was it was all CGI stunts, and it was like, you're making a stunt movie. Like, don't CG your stunts. That's the dumbest thing ever. Like, that's like if Jackass CG'd their stunts. It's like you're there to watch a human being perform something.
That's like if The Raid was just all the fighting was CG.
Yeah, exactly. And that was there was like one good fight scene in this, and then every other physical like feat or performance just felt like, oh, they're on a green screen pretending, like, there was nothing about it that felt real. Sorry, this changed the subject a little bit. I really this was another moment that was stupid, but the movie wasn't stupid enough to make me love it, is that the good guy has that big old globe on the top.
Yeah.
And he has a wacky mirror
he has
set up.
He has a holodeck.
Yeah. But it's like a house of mirrors, like in like Total Recall.
It is.
Not Total Recall had the
decoy, the hologram decoy, but yeah.
I guess like in John Wick. John Wick explained it, because in John Wick 2 they like go into
an art installation.
Art installation. I was like, oh, that's great, good idea. But this one, he was just like, let me show you my dome for no reason, and he was just like, check it out, and all these mirrors pop up, and it's like he doesn't explain why it exists. Like, he's just like, pretty neat, huh? Like, I was expecting him to be like, this will come in useful in the third act, right?
Yeah.
Like, because there was no reason for that to exist.
They mentioned briefly that he's intending to use it as like an attraction.
Right, but
for tourists.
Why?
But like, it's weird. It's like the equivalent of, I mean, it would be pretty cool to stand in there because it can do this. It's basically, it's the titular pearl. It's this dome that sits at the top of the building.
The other thing it can do is cool.
Yeah, it's got these two-sided. These panels have cameras on both sides, so basically the effect is he can make it look as if you're just standing out in the open air above Hong Kong.
Which I thought was a thing they were going to use.
Right, I thought they were going to use that to like trick the bad guys into like walking off the edge or something.
I knew they were going to use the mirror thing,
of
because
course.
That didn't make any fucking sense.
Out of nowhere, he's like, "Oh, before you go, I want to show you something. And he just walks him into this fucking house of mirrors.
Yeah, but, all right, it makes sense. The second part of that makes sense when he's like, oh, and it also turns invisible.
Yeah.
That makes sense of something to show him, but they had to, like, shoehorn in this first
right.
thing.
I'd pay for, like, a $30 IMAX ticket to walk into a globe that makes it seem like I'm floating in the air.
Yeah. I don't know why the other thing was up.
Yeah, like, why ever... Because when they first walk in there, he has it set up to look like a Chinese garden.
Yeah.
There was, like, a waterfall and shit. It was, like, pure holodeck.
Right.
And then they all come up out of the floor... Like the monolith.
Yeah, it was like, come up to the very top of this globe. I want to show you something. I made a house of mirrors. It's like it might as well have been like I made a skee ball. Like table. Like it's just like, oh, okay. Did you also do something about the fact that we're up really high? And he's just like, oh yeah, also that. Like I also did the thing.
Oh yeah, I did take advantage. It's like the fact that it's in a skyscraper is secondary.
Yeah,
which seems to describe this film. Like they don't.
Yes, they don't take advantage of the goddamn.
They don't really take advantage of being in a building.
They might as well be anywhere. Like there's nothing to like. Yeah, he drops one guy a couple stories into fire, and then he drops that other guy who immediately explodes.
Right.
And I guess there's some hanging stuff, but it's not shot in an interesting way.
Yeah, they're so high up that the cops can't do anything. He does do some. The sequences we have to climb around outside were. I mean, they were good ideas.
They were good ideas.
Like the crane sequence was, even though they show most of it in the trailer, I was like, oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And then him having to climb around the building was a good idea. But it just...
there had to be another way to get to those turbines.
Yeah.
Like a maintenance... like a walkway. And if anybody would know where that is, it would be his character. So it was weird that he was climbing on the outside for that, but it was, again, like... If this is awesome, then who cares?
Right. Some bad guy needed to get kicked into those turbines.
Yeah. They didn't use the turbines enough.
Period.
Yeah.
Like the fact that there's a garden, like this big garden on the inside, never really gets utilized.
No.
I mean, that's where he shoulder blocks the guy into hell.
But nothing much happens.
No, not much happens, except he has to hold a bridge together with his muscles.
Yeah, they had this big set piece, and they just didn't know what to do with it.
With a lot of them. Like, they set up a couple of things. Like, even ultimately, the House of Mirrors fight isn't very interesting.
No, it's not.
They have these great potential set pieces, like the turbines, like the 20-story garden that's in the center of a skyscraper, the skyscraper itself, the fucking House of Mirrors.
Yeah.
And it's they just never really figured out an interesting thing to do with those set pieces. Really,
he should have been on that turbine, and for no reason a henchman just drops down from a vent and they just fight, and I'd be totally fine with it if that fight ended with the henchman getting kicked into a turbine and just blood going everywhere.
His torso goes spinning off into the night sky.
Do something, like get pro wrestlers to play all the henchmen or something. Do something fun.
There were some swole dudes.
But it definitely, because that's the other thing.
I needed him to be on that catwalk in between the turbines trying to hack, and then fucking Triple H comes in through the skylight.
That's the other thing, and I think we've talked about it on something else, is like, if you're gonna make a henchman movie, a movie where there's a small group of henchmen and the hero's beating him up, like, take a note. Like, if you're going to do Die Hard, look at the henchmen in Die Hard. They're interesting. Like, I remember the henchmen in Die Hard. I remember what, like, that weird part where he's cutting all the lines and the guy's like, wait, no. And, like there's...
Yeah, that's Carl, man.
Yeah,
who cuts all the lines. He's the guy that comes back at the end.
Yeah, who gets fucking hung.
Yeah.
And, like, the hacker guy, and, like, when he shoots Nakatomi, like... They pass money to each other.
Yeah. There's a bit. They do a bit.
Yeah, like they give henchmen stuff to do, and I feel like modern action forgets to do that. Like, this is, again, going back to why I say, like, Shane Black needs to write this. That's not true. Just people need to write action more like him, because you look at Iron Man 3, he does that. The henchmen have, like, funny lines and shit.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if you're going to have these characters, if you're just going to make an action movie that, you know, isn't challenging plot-wise, at least make the fucking characters interesting.
Yeah, just make it more fun.
Yeah, like it just needs.
The movie was. This is high melodrama. This film.
Yeah,
high melodrama. I mean, it's fine. I think I think it's probably going to do well.
Yeah,
because
I don't know.
It's a
Our
very.
theater was pretty empty, but it was 11.
It's 11 o'clock on a Friday. I mean, this is geared for international audiences.
Yes.
It's getting decent reviews from what I've seen.
Yeah,
because it's.
Well,
I mean,
it's not a bad movie.
It's not bad. It's just not remarkable in any way.
Yeah,
it's very forgettable.
And that's a real shame because it's set in a very
unique
a
cool setting
environment.
Do something with that.
Yeah. Like, yeah, if you're gonna make like a roided out Die Hard, like then do that. Make the henchman more interesting.
Fight John Cena.
Yeah.
A mile and a half above Hong Kong on top of this building.
Yeah, exactly, and throw him into a termite.
Yeah, but like that, they clearly had some of the. They had at least some of the pieces because they had settings and they had good ideas for set pieces. And that first fight scene between him and his friend, I was like, oh shit,
yeah.
This is a good fight. Like but like after it sets the bar kind of high and it just never reaches it again. Like towards the end, I was just kind of thinking about like next week when we get to go watch Mission Impossible.
Is that next week?
I think so, or it's soon. But yeah, because the first fight reminded me of the bits you've seen of the bathroom fight in the trailers for Mission Impossible, where it just looks like fucking hardcore.
And that's the thing is that I think that's why Mission Impossible people like it so much is because they do. They're not all right. The humor in Mission Impossible and the plot is very straightforward.
Yeah,
like it's not a weird action movie.
No,
they'll have like Simon Pegg in there to tell a joke every now and then, but
and use some kind of kooky sci-fi technology that they integrate in a fun way. Like when he had used the cloaking technology in the hallway in Ghost Protocol.
Right, which
was cool.
Yeah, they do like over the top.
Yeah, and like the
shit.
face
shit
thing,
that's almost could be an Austin Powers movie,
right? Because
like,
it's Mission Impossible.
Straight, yeah,
yeah.
I sorry, I know we're not talking about Mission Impossible, but I really appreciate.
Now I'm just getting like all excited
because Mission Impossible, they never stopped doing the kooky spy shit. It just occurred to me that they never stopped doing that. They do at least one thing of that per movie, and as stupid or over the top it is, I really appreciate that. But then they also with the action, they're like, well, fuck, let's have Tom Cruise actually do this shit, and that alone makes the action 10 times more interesting than this movie. Which again, like, I don't know, is this an action film? It's weird to me.
Sort of. It feels like an Emmerich movie.
Yeah.
And that it's part action, part disaster.
Right. And a disaster film, like, I don't mind CGI.
No.
I like good, like, this is another thing, though, is that if you're doing a disaster film, you should try to actually destroy things. That's the one thing about Michael Bay that I have to give him, is that
he blows things up.
Yeah, he blows things up. Because again, why? If not that, then what's the point? What are we watching? Like, is it enough to see a CGI explosion? Because that doesn't feel like enough to me.
It's not.
It's like, what am I impressed? Like those that,
or you
sure did good job on that computer.
Or you do, again, we're going back to Rampage. You do what Rampage did, where like, yeah, the building's falling over, but there's people falling out of the building. Like you make it seem like, oh shit, like like when in this movie when like something crashes out the window, show people on the ground like.
Yeah,
someone getting smacked with like a statue or something.
At one point, he throws a statue at the window, and I thought, like, wow, that's got to have killed someone. They don't show it land. No. And I guess that's the thing, is you could use CGI, but you have to use it in a way that's impressive, in some way.
It's impactful. It's not enough to see the thing. Like, it has to...
There has to be, like, something cool about the way you're shooting it. Like, I think of a movie like Gravity, which I watched recently. That's all CGI, but it's just the way it's done and executed is in such an intense way that you don't care, because you can't do it any other way. You can't see something like that.
And Gravity is just a single. It's a single. It's almost like, it feels almost like a chase movie, because it's just one character and then one goal, but it just keeps escalating. Like things just keep going wrong.
Yeah, that also. That has the benefit of being written in a way that's really really tense. But yeah, when you have a movie like this, it's like, okay, you have to sit down and be like, what do I have going for me? when I'm making a movie like this. And it's like, you either have to make these stunts impressive in that they have to be like real, you have to make the story insane, or you do something unique, right? Like, and they had a unique setting, but they just didn't.
Yeah, and the story was interesting enough for me.
Yeah,
like it took some. It took some. They took some twists that I didn't necessarily anticipate, just as far as like what the villain's ultimate purpose was.
Yeah,
and then because like I had to sit there and be like, when you realize that, yeah, he set the building on fire so that Lau will open up his safe and get this valuable thing and escape with it so that he can get the thing. I was like, oh yeah, that's pretty clever.
Yeah, that's kind of Die Hard, isn't it? Because isn't that the point of Die Hard?
Sort of.
Is they do.
He holds the building.
It's a dumb plan.
He holds the building hostage so they'll cut the power so that the safe will open.
Yeah. he commits a larger crime so that he can actually get away with a much smaller crime.
Well, he steals a whole bunch of money, and
I don't know. It's at the cost of being a terrorist.
At the cost of also being a mass murderer. Because Gruber's plan is also to blow the roof and kill all the hostages so that they'll.
Right.
So it's specifically so it'll take them a while to figure out that he and his buddies didn't die, and it's like, well, now you've stolen $600 million, and you've murdered like 30 people.
Yeah, he better have a quick way to get out of the country.
Yeah, I mean,
he better have like a plane waiting for him.
I assumed they did.
Yeah,
but anyway, we're getting into Gruber's plan.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was fine.
They paid stuff off that I didn't expect them to pay off.
Like what? Oh, the turning it
on and off.
That, all right, when they did it at the beginning, I thought like, oh, that's going to be a thing. And then I just sort of forgot about it. And then when it came back, I was like, oh, okay.
I was like, oh, she literally turned the building on and off. Yeah. And then the cop just straight up asked her, like, how'd you do it? She's like, I turned it on and off.
Yeah. I also like at the very end, the cop, when The Rock, like, reunites with his family and the cop steps out of the crowd, like, nodding. And he's just like, it's nice to finally meet you. It felt like at the end of Die Hard, the difference is he's not in communication with that guy.
Never been in communication
so I want
with
The Rock to be like, I'm sorry, who are you?
Who the hell are you?
Yeah, like, it was a very weird moment.
It was a weird moment.
It was like they cut out scenes of them talking or something. Like,
he's clearly like supposed to be like an Al Powell.
Yeah.
But he never really advocates that strongly for The Rock during the movie. By the way, the police detective is played by the guy who played Ryu.
Oh, really?
They call him Ryu in the Street Fighter movie, but Ryu.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, same dude.
The lady detective that was oddly suspicious of Nev Campbell.
Yeah,
I really like that, where Nev Campbell gets out like after like covered in ash with her kid with asthma, who's like suffocating, and is just like, I think they're gonna base jump, and then the lady detective is like, how do we know she's not in on it? Well, it's like, are you serious?
Well,
lady?
This is what's funny about what's doubly funny about that is. First, she goes in the police van to talk to the two detectives, and the lady detective turns to Ryu and says, I forget what, but she makes an aside comment to him in Chinese.
Right.
So that she won't know what she's saying.
Oh, right.
And then Nev Campbell responds in Chinese.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, okay. And so they continue talking. And then later... later on is when the lady detective turns back to Ryu and says again in Chinese she could be in on it. It's like, you already know she understands Chinese.
She was a bad detective. I really want at the very end when they're hugging and stuff, her to come out of the crowd like, very nice show.
Yeah,
very nice.
All right, you're gonna. But seriously, The Rock does need to answer many questions.
Yes, he does.
Like, he is going to have to be
he
detained
did run from the cops,
for at least... Well, I mean, they need to... At the very least, they need to take his statement.
Yeah, and I'm sure they will. I'm sure that's what we'll see next. Yeah. They aren't very possessive of them at the end. I will give them that.
Ryu walks away.
Yeah.
He's like, well... And then The Rock's like, let's go home. It's like, well...
Hold on.
The kids, maybe. You're going to be here most of the night.
That's another scene I want. I wish there was like a post-credits with a detective at home and then being like, Oh shit!
Oh God, I need
you're
to.
supposed to talk
I should have
to
at
them.
least gotten a statement.
Yeah,
man.
I don't even know his name.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Oh, what a film!
Yeah, I mean, I want to say what a film, but I was smiling for most of it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was fine.
I might watch it once more a few years from now if I'm like, oh, hey, Skyscraper's free.
Yeah, sure. It would be like a, I don't know, just like a Passenger 57, although not as fun as Passenger 57.
Yeah, maybe I think...
That's a bad comparison because that actually is like one that gets quoted frequently.
Yeah, the 90s stuff like Chain Reaction, for example.
Sure.
I have a level of nostalgia for just because it's the 90s.
This is very Chain Reaction.
I could see being my age in 20 years and not being me. I mean, and going back and looking at this movie with nostalgia. Like, I could see that maybe.
But even Chain Reaction has a bit of irony attached to it. Because
I think Chain Reaction's a better movie
because it's Keanu playing a physicist.
It's also got fucking Morgan Freeman in there and Brian Cox, like,
and Mike Shannon as the FTD delivery man.
Oh man, it's so good. Rachel Weisz. I mean, like, it had the benefit of having really good actors in it. I mean, this doesn't have bad actors in it. It has Nev Campbell.
No, but I'm saying like you're more likely to watch Chain Reaction because they're like, hey, let's watch Keanu be a physicist.
Right. That's
like,
great. It's so good.
Like this one, it's not
he doesn't
like
even try to be like he's just as excited. He's like Bill and Ted as a physicist.
Right.
Like
you were saying with this movie, it's not crazy enough in any particular direction. It's very straightforward. It's just melodrama. Yeah. And so there's nothing really to like. There's no reason to watch it for like all the awesome stunts, and there's no reason to go back and watch it for like an ironic enjoyment, like because it's not like bad, and it's not like goofy.
It's
just a very forgettable movie.
Yeah, it's too like it. I don't know why they make movies like this. I guess maybe for the international market.
Like I said, I am
takes
sure
place in China. Yeah, half the actors, but like.
I'm sure it was.
Even Chinese audiences must watch something like this and be like, "Meh."
I don't know. I don't know how often. I don't know how inundated the rest of the world is with American movies. I wrote an article
about this. Is that there were interviews whenever like Hollywood panders to Chinese audiences, like the new Iron Man, or not new Iron Man, Iron Man 3, when they shot those scenes just for China, Chinese audiences saw those and they're like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Like they know that when they're being pandered to,
of course,
like everybody else,
right?
So it's that of like they have their own films now. Like, they have their own Hollywood. So it's like I'll watch a foreign film when it has an interesting plot or really good action like The Raid, or a very unique story. But like the fact that it's foreign isn't enough.
It's a different.
I know it's different.
It's different. Like things don't get imported here in the same way that we force Hollywood on the rest of the world.
At this point, too, though,
you would think. I don't. But again, like I don't know.
Films like I
don't know how.
Just go see Ant-Man.
Yeah, just do that. Like I don't know how.
I don't know. I can see this doing well, but I can also wouldn't be surprised if this doesn't do well. Because I don't think it's bringing anything new to international.
No, but it's a very safe movie. It's
The Rock.
It's enjoyable. It's The Rock. People like The Rock. It's well made enough that you can't like.
People like The Rock until they don't. Like I think of this with Schwarzenegger's. There was a point where it was just like, okay, it's not. We
got tired of that. We just got tired of that style of action hero for whatever reason.
Yeah, and I think we'll get tired of this one too. I think this is playing.
I think we're trying to
short con.
We're trying to recapture it, but we're not doing it right.
Yeah. It's not weird enough.
Yeah, it's not like you gotta go back to the 80s, man. Yeah. That's when the action movies were the shit.
Yeah. There's some. I guess sequeling RoboCop might.
Maybe.
Yeah, we'll see. There was just pictures out today of Linda Hamilton.
What a perfect film.
In the new Terminator. That's
all right.
Something, I guess, to look forward to. Ugh. Yeah.
I think we're done with Terminator.
I think we are too. We really need to stop.
We need to stop.
James Cameron.
They gave us a movie that was like, remember Terminator 2? Well, that never happened. I was like, oh, you mean that one of the greatest movies ever made that everybody loves never happened? That was a good decision.
That was a great.
But please show me what you have to say.
That was them like giving out the official statement of like, hey, we have no idea what we're doing, apparently. Like, that was such a sure sign that they have no idea what to do with Terminator.
And Kyle Reese is this swole, jokey dude. I'm like, that looks like a man who was born in the apocalypse of humanity and lived on the fringe of society his whole life. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Like, no.
So yeah, I guess going back, I'll give Skyscraper one thing. It's technically an original story. It's not Terminator Genesis. Like that, I can definitely say it's not Terminator Genesis.
I don't know how they don't draw too much attention to his disability, and I don't know how that's gonna jibe with people.
They should have, because it didn't feel like it mattered.
No, it really didn't.
It was like that. Again, the opening is him getting an explosion in his face, and then just being like, I'm fine.
I got a leg now. I got a fake leg.
And so, like, well, PTSD. I thought they were going to do that when he gets mugged and he's like, his friend goes after him and he's like sitting there holding his arm. I thought that was the moment he was going to have these like flashbacks and have a problem throughout where it's like he can't step up and he has to like learn to like, like his family is at stake. So he has to learn to be brave again and to get over it or whatever. Again, I'm sure there's a very insensitive way of doing that, but that's why it's a risky idea.
Yeah.
They something like that. Anything. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be more because that fight scene, like he's getting beat up, like his friend rips his fake leg off, so like immediately. So it's like, oh, like I can't stand now. Like, I'm in a serious
just hops towards him.
Yeah,
and beats him up.
I thought it was that fight scene really sets a high bar, and then it just never.
At no point is he really an underdog out of that opening. Like after that, it's just everything.
He barely even sees the bad guys for most of the movie.
Yeah. And when he does, like it's just, it's that thing where like when John McClane's wife, Hans has the gun to Holly, and John McClane's got the gun taped to his back, and you're seeing there like, okay, like he has a plan, but it's not very good, and he's like, like it's a very shitty, and he's like, will he do it? And he's all bloody. And the version of this is the bad guy has the gun to his daughter. And The Rock's just like, oh, by the way, I'm behind you. And, like, there's no stakes there. Like, it's like, oh, yeah, he had the upper hand the entire time. And that felt like the story of this movie. Is like, at no point...
Right, yeah, he sort of always has...
He was never... Yeah. I mean, the climbing stuff, sure. But when he deals with the bad guys, I don't remember...
No.
He always seems to know exactly what to do. I don't know. There was that, like when they steal his daughter, and they're like, "Get us that hard drive, or I'll throw your daughter off the roof," and they leave. I was baffled as to why he went to try to get the hard drive, because he was so powerful that was like, just go beat up all the guys, like, just go find them on the roof and win. Yeah. Like, it didn't feel like...
I know why a normal human being wouldn't do that.
But he didn't feel like a normal human being. Yeah. So it was just like, just go be The Rock. Just win the movie.
Just go up there and win.
So we don't have to watch...
That's sort of what it felt like, too. The end felt kind of rushed.
Yeah.
Like, he dispatches most of the bad guys within a 2-minute span at the end of the film.
Yeah, again, I thought, he'd jump off, and then they'd have, like, a further fight in the air or whatever they land.
Yeah.
Like, it would just keep going a little bit. And it never does. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. That's all my thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think that's all of mine. There's a scene where The Rock steals a police motorcycle to drive to the skyscraper, and he's so big, and the motorcycle is just this little motorcycle. I was like, he looks like a circus bear.
He really did. Like the motorcycle should have just crushed under his weight.
He's so enormous.
I want a movie that's just The Rock dealing with the fact that he's a giant.
Right, that he's a monster. Like I in the very beginning when he's getting dressed for his job interview, and it's like they're trying to put him in normal human clothes, like he's a normal human. It's like, no, he's enormous.
Yeah,
he's the size of a bookshelf. Like it's like putting a shirt and tie on a bookshelf.
Right. Like where did they even get that shirt and tie?
Yeah. It's so big. It
was like made by NASA.
Yeah, it's like space age polymers.
Oh man.
To withstand the friction of his gigantic muscles.
Right.
Just oh man.
The Rock. You maniac.
No, I'm happy for him.
Yeah.
He seems like a good dude.
Yeah. I mean, he's very nice.
And that's what it I think that's what it's going to be.
We all want him to
He's going to have a string of successful films under his belt, and not one of them is going to be like a particular one like, oh, you got to watch this movie, but I think we'll all just like him as like a star and personality.
He's like Steven Seagal but charismatic.
Right, he's like Steven Seagal if he wasn't a piece of shit.
Yeah. Like, I don't think there's no, like, iconic Steven Seagal film in my head.
No, it's kind of the same with Van Damme, too, to be honest.
Van Damme at least has, Street Fighter.
Sure.
No, he has a few. It's Time Cop. He has Time Cop.
But, I mean, like, it's mostly about Van Damme doing the splits.
Van Damme.
Yeah, Van Damme being Van Damme.
Yeah.
Like,
but The Rock doesn't have splits. He doesn't have, like, if he was doing the People's Elbow in every film, that would make me so happy.
He should be rock bottoming people. But he's just a nice left and right.
He's just a giant, nice man.
Yeah.
And that is enough to enjoy his films for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. If he ever stops being that, then he's in trouble. Levy gets real tiny.
Right, like if he deflates down somehow.
Oh, he should do a shrinking movie.
He should do a shrinking movie.
Oh, that should be the next Rock movie.
Yeah.